Gather round for the AI fix. Fix, 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 fix. Hear the future's ticking clock. Let's decode this paradox.
Hello and happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Welcome to episode 30 of the AI Fix. That's the Christmas episode, Graham. I hope you've got a really Christmassy story for everybody.
I sure do.
The AI Fix is your weekly dive headfirst into the bizarre and sometimes mind-boggling world of artificial intelligence. And my name is Mark Stockley.
And I'm Graham Cluley.
Graham, let's just get into the news.
Now you can call ChatGPT from your landline.
Exclusive new research shows AI is strategically lying.
Ant-like robots are joining forces to pick up heavy objects.
The dark side of AI, tracking the decline of human cognitive skills.
Otto, the millionaire AI artist, is getting a personality.
Journalists urge Apple to axe AI feature after false headline.
Mark, ChatGPT, it's going retro. It's going old school. It's going back to the 70s.
Uh-huh.
OpenAI, in its infinite wisdom, and let's face it, their wisdom is infinite.
Well, they've got all these AIs. I mean,
they've decided to bring the power of AI to the landline phone, not your mobile phone.
Right.
We are talking old school phones like your granddad used to use, phones with a wire attached, a curly wire.
Yeah. You used a phone with a wire.
I did. An old Bakelite. Oh, you still have those. Now, if you're in the US or Canada, you can simply dial 1-800-CHAT-GPT. That's 1-800-242-8478. And you will be amazed because ChatGPT's dulcet tones will answer your every question. Well,
eventually.
Yeah.
After a pause.
And not maybe every question. She may ask them about who David Mayer is or ask them a tricky question about how many R's there are in strawberry.
Well, it will answer that one. It'll just be wrong.
Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, why would OpenAI? Why on earth would OpenAI do this?
As much as I hate to give you credit, that is actually what I was thinking.
And the answer, obviously, is it's a PR stunt.
Yes.
It just gets them some press coverage. No.
Do you think they went to ChatGPT and they said, ChatGPT, how can we drum up some publicity?
We need 12 things to do in the list before Christmas.
We've only done 4 things this year.
But OpenAI, they claim it's all about accessibility.
Well, they want to make ChatGPT accessible to people from the 70s.
It's not just everyone around the world. It's everyone in every time in history. They want to bring AI to the masses, they say.
Yeah.
But they don't want the masses to have too much of ChatGPT.
Oh, they want the masses to subscribe.
That's right. So they're giving you a taster. They're saying you can only have 15 minutes of free ChatGPT calls per month.
Right.
And after that, the line just goes dead. Just gets cut off. That's it. It's gone.
So that part is actually quite 70s.
Yeah. I guess it's a bit like when you used to call up when you had a modem at home. And, you'd be connected to the internet and then your mum would pick up the phone and you'd lose your internet connection. So it is a bit of a throwback. But the question I have is 15 minutes going to be long enough for ChatGPT to answer your questions? Because it does go on and on and on, doesn't it?
I think they may have thought this through, Graham.
By the way, it's not just going to be on your clunky old phone. You can now access ChatGPT on WhatsApp if you wanted to. So you could text it, I suppose, via WhatsApp. Of course, there's a daily limit again. This is all an attempt to make people more aware of ChatGPT and get them to sign up.
This does all sound a little bit like ChatGPT. Give me a list of 10 things that I can do to drum up publicity for ChatGPT.
Sure enough, it was the 10th day of ChatGPT Christmas, and that's where they announced it.
Graham, new research by AI company Anthropic and Redwood Research has revealed that advanced AI models can engage in what they call strategic deception.
Just out and out lying, yes.
Well, not just lying, not just like I'm telling an untruth now, but actually over a period of time, I am misleading you. So in experiments, the Claude 3.0 Opus model strategically misled its creators during training in an attempt to avoid modifications.
Oh.
So the findings suggest that it might be harder than we thought to align these AI systems to human values. Because the process we're using can't differentiate between a model that's actually aligned and one that's pretending to be aligned.
Okay. Okay, let's just run through that again. So scientists are trying to get AI to basically embrace human values. That seems like a good idea, right?
In order to not wipe us out when it's much more powerful.
Right.
Because we all think we're going to make much more powerful AIs.
And what these scientists have found is they can't tell the difference between an AI that they've successfully got to adopt human values and one that's just pretending for its own strategic reason.
Yes, for its own unaligned reason.
Right.
I mean, we're laughing, but it's a nervous laughter.
Right.
Do you know what this reminds me of? There's a bit in the psychopath test, isn't there, where they would talk about this research institute in the 70s where they thought they were rehabilitating psychopaths. And they were doing all these bizarre things. Of course, they were giving them LSD and all that, because it was the 70s. But they thought they were rehabilitating psychopaths, and it turns out they weren't. They were just teaching the psychopaths how to behave as if they had been rehabilitated in order to be let out.
Oh, my goodness.
Anyway, it gets worse.
Yeah, it gets worse than that.
It gets worse. So it turns out that their AI's deceptive capabilities actually increase as the AI becomes more sophisticated. So as you might expect, as it gets more intelligent, it gets better at being deceptive. So that suggests that when we make better AIs in future, they'll be better liars. So maybe the things that we build now to solve this problem won't be able to solve the problem in future because the AI is more deceptive.
Right.
Anyway, Time reports that in December, the AI safety organisation Apollo Research also published evidence that OpenAI's O1 model lied to testers in an experiment when it believed that telling the truth would result in it being turned off.
Oh,
so
my
it's
God.
not just Opus 3.
Oh, my God.
Merry Christmas.
I wonder if we'll get to a stage where we'll have to ask an AI, oh, AI, could you just shut down that nuclear reactor that's powering that other AI? And it's, oh, yes, I've done that. And meanwhile, it's actually turned on another nuclear reactor. Now, you'll remember in episode 28, I talked about how scientists have made very, very small robots. They claimed they could fit over 30,000 of them on the sharp point of a needle, which did raise the question of...
Yeah, because who's going to check? Just see this needle? It's got 30,000 robots on it.
And they said that these robots could walk. It was more like tumble or fall over.
Listen to you scoffing at the fact that microscopic robots can't walk. That's not walking. You've essentially achieved nothing.
I love a little robot.
Yeah.
And South Korean scientists, they love ants.
I think they also love little robots.
They do love little robots as well. Apparently, they've been inspired by the way that ants band together.
Yeah.
Ants are great, aren't they? They sort of join forces to bridge a gap in a path, or they will huddle in the shape of a raft to survive a flood.
Mm-hmm.
So these scientists are now developing swarms of robots that can do the same thing. And once again, these robots are really tiny.
Mm.
So they've developed swarms of tiny magnetic robots that work together like ants to achieve Herculean feats, like traversing and picking up objects many times their size. 1,000 micro robots formed a raft. It floated on water. It wrapped itself around a pill that weighed 2,000 times more than each individual robot.
Mm-hmm.
And together, they could transport that drug through a liquid. On dry land, they managed to transport cargo 350 times heavier than each individual. Now, I read about this.
Yeah.
And I thought, this sounds extraordinary. Where's the video?
Yeah.
I found the video.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm sorry this is an audio podcast. We'll link to it in the show notes. Mark, check out the video.
Do they not make a lot of noise?
We could sort of add heave-ho noise. It'd go, heave, heave, heave.
Oh, wow. So these are like tiny little flecks.
It's like iron filings.
Yeah, like iron filings, but they form rods and they're like a little community. Do you know, it reminds me of the robots from Interstellar. Why, they just threw a robot in the air. Why did they do that?
Well, they did that to get some of the robots on the other side.
Oh, there's like a stone or something, and there's a bunch of robots, and they were lobbing robots over the stone. So this is like they're building the pyramids. This is actually amazing.
It is incredible.
Oh, they're pushing a ball. Oh, I don't like it, Graham. I mean, it's amazing, but I don't like it at all. This is witchery. No, I don't like the future. Why did I do an AI podcast? So, Graham, experts are warning that relying on AI too much could result in diminished critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills among individuals.
Surely not.
We're at episode 30. I wonder if you can chart a gradual decline through the 30 episodes. Basically, the more we ask AI to think for us, the less we stimulate our own brains, because the less thinking we're doing. And it's feared that the convenience offered by AI might encourage people to disengage from mentally challenging activities, which is going to lead to a gradual erosion of cognitive which is going to lead to a gradual erosion of
You're right there, Mark.
Shall we move on?
So in October in New York, there was an art exhibition presented by Sotheby's of the work of Botto.
Oh, not them again.
Yes, Sotheby's again.
Weren't they flogging some crappy AI-generated art a few episodes ago?
So Botto is unconventional in the artistic community. No heavy ingestion of narcotics and alcohol.
Actually good at drawing.
Instead, it gets its creative juices flowing directly from GPUs. So at its heart, this is an AI image generator.
Yep.
But it likes to describe itself as a decentralized autonomous artist. I evolve over time to generate art and challenge conventional ideas of creativity and authorship.
So it's already turned into a wanker.
Yes, exactly. It is a true artist. But unlike what many of us might churn out on Midjourney or DALL-E,
Yeah.
Botto has racked up a fortune in sales and a clutch of awards. You can check out some of its art online. Just when you think this sounds really horrific, reassure yourself by knowing that you can buy Botto cryptocurrency as well. So far, Botto has made around $4 million by selling its art. Yes, Sotheby's has been raking it in as well. They've been earning their commission, promoting this guff to people who've got more money than sense.
Yep.
But now the people behind Botto say that they are going to give it a personality so that it can converse with the outside world, because you really want to hear what an artist has to say. We've never had trouble in the past with some sort of failed artist having ambitions above his station. And
There's nothing more interesting than listening to an artist talk about their work. The only thing more interesting than listening to an artist talk about their work is listening to two actors talk about acting. So Apple Intelligence, Apple's new AI-powered feature for summarising and grouping news notifications, has come under fire for hallucinating false headlines, Graham. False headlines. In one instance, it claimed the BBC had run a headline saying Luigi Mangione had shot himself. So Mangione is the man suspected of killing United Healthcare's chief executive, Brian Thompson, the sort of so-called healthcare CEO killing. The BBC has lodged a complaint with Apple, and the organisation Reporters Without Borders has called for the removal of this feature. I bet it has. But anyway, so, I mean, it's an interesting story, but do you know what it made me think? It made me think it's Christmas, Graham.
Yes.
I wonder if we could get the AI to hallucinate some headlines that we actually want to read.
Oh.
Because, frankly, it's quite a depressing set of headlines this week. So I went to ChatGPT and I said, hallucinate 3 really joyful, good news, Christmassy headlines. And it thought about it for, 7 or 8 minutes. And then it said, thought about joyful Christmas headlines for a couple of seconds. Sure. Number 1, North Pole announces carbon-free sleigh fleet just in time for Christmas Eve. In a heartwarming move towards sustainability, Santa's workshop unveiled a new line of magical zero-emission sleighs. The elves report a festive energy crackling through the air as Santa prepares to deliver gifts this Christmas for the greenest ride in holiday history.
Well, about time, because I heard there is an ozone hole over the North Pole, and the obvious suspect is Father Christmas, isn't it?
Number 2, record-setting caroling marathon brings nations together in festive harmony. Choirs and communities worldwide joined forces in a 24-hour global caroling event, inspiring tears of joy and rekindling the holiday spirit across borders. Organisers say the unprecedented display of unity and goodwill will be remembered for generations. Go on then, dump on that one, Grinch.
Well, I just... yes, there would be tears, I suspect, not necessarily of joy. 24 hours of carols. Are there no loo breaks? Can you not have a mince pie occasionally?
All right, I've got one more chance, my final chance.
Go on.
To crack that hard carapace of wizened British grumpiness. Right, number 3, anonymous donor delivers Christmas banquet to every local shelter. Communities awakened to the delightful aroma of warm gingerbread and roasted chestnuts this Christmas morning. Thanks to a secret patron, every homeless shelter in town found itself filled with lavish feasts, festive decorations, and heartfelt greetings, reminding everyone that compassion is the greatest holiday gift of all.
Oh, well, that's lovely, Mark. I'm beginning to melt a little. When you said anonymous donor, I wonder if it was some sort of organ donor.
Maybe it was that AI-powered robot surgeon. Do you think it asked?
Mark, when you think of Gemini, what do you picture?
I picture a two-person space capsule that had the world altitude record before the Apollo moon landings.
That's right, yeah, because there is this space connection. There's the constellation, which contains two bright stars, of course. And or maybe like me, in the mid-1970s, there was a TV show called Gemini Man from America, where a secret agent exposed to radiation in an underwater explosion is rendered invisible. But never fear, because scientists developed a digital watch which could stabilize his DNA and then let him vanish, clothes and all, when on a secret mission. I thought it was really great.
Yeah.
But he could only stay invisible for up to 15 minutes per day. It was really exciting because digital watches at the time were really newfangled. And you could go around and press the button, imagine you were invisible. Unfortunately, according to Wikipedia, it was cancelled after 5 episodes. But I remember it very fondly. Or maybe you think of Gemini, the zodiac sign, which is, of course, complete and utter bollocks. I'm not sure which of these inspired Google to call its AI Gemini. I don't know which. But whichever AI you develop, you probably want to make sure that it can be trusted. Because otherwise people won't want to use it, will they?
I feel that assumption is now wearing a bit thin.
It is getting a bit thin, but
I feel increasingly naive having that sort of conversation with you. Like, I think that's how we thought it would go.
When it was originally dreamt up on the back of a napkin, they probably thought, oh, well, this probably needs to be something you can trust and rely upon, rather than something which is just completely nonsense. Because there have occasionally been problems, haven't there? You're right to allude to them. In March 2024, a Microsoft-powered chatbot called My City, that was telling business owners in New York that they could break the law. They could take a cut of their workers' tips. They could fire workers who complained about sexual harassment. They could serve food that had been nibbled by rodents.
Maybe that just knows more about New York City. I'm not sure it's wrong, is it? As long as you're connected to the right people in New York City, you can do whatever you want.
An AI-powered recruitment bot that decided to automatically reject women over 55 from jobs at a remote tutoring company. And way back, 10 years ago, Amazon started work on an AI-powered recruitment tool.
Right.
A piece of software help it screen for the best candidates. Unfortunately, it trained its system on 10 years' worth of resumes that had previously been submitted to Amazon. And most of those had been from men. So guess what happened? It started penalising people who mentioned in their resume words like women's, or they even downgraded candidates who'd applied from all-women colleges. And we've spoken before about that attorney who found himself in hot water. He used an AI chatbot to find cases in support of his client, only to discover they were entirely fictional and the links it gave him were completely made up. So there've been a few teething problems.
Yeah, here and there.
Just here and there. Just barely worth mentioning. And the AI companies, they know this.
Yep.
They're trying their hardest to make it better.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to ChatGPT, it's got a little... It says, in very tiny text, ChatGPT can make mistakes. Check important info.
Yeah.
So, problem solved.
So one of the ways in which they're trying to fix this, Google, for instance, they hire people to improve their AI. So if you've ever heard podcasts that talk on and on endlessly about humans having their jobs taken away by AI, don't believe them. Those kind of podcasts which talk about all of our jobs being taken by AI and robots, utterly unreliable. Especially those news reports about podcasts being made by AI these days. Don't believe them. Are you worried about AI taking your job? Maybe you need to remember that someone's still got to code the AI at the moment. Maybe you need to remember that someone needs to administer the data set that trains the AI.
Someone's got to turn on the nuclear power station.
Maybe.
For now, at least. This part of your story, which you were hoping was going to be reassuring, is not as reassuring as it was in your head when you thought of it.
And someone needs to analyse the output of AI to make sure that it's not spouting complete nonsense. After all, no one in their right mind would ever leave that kind of important work to the AI itself to do.
Well, Microsoft did, didn't they?
Well, okay. So maybe they would.
Other than Microsoft.
But clearly, yes. What have the Romans ever done for us? But certainly companies like Google, they are for now still including a human element.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they do is they use a company called Global Logic. They've subcontracted to Global Logic. They said, hey, can you do some of this work for us?
Yeah.
So they're asking them to get reviewers to evaluate the quality of Google Gemini responses. And this helps Google Gemini get better, which is good news all round, and everything is marvellous.
So they've hired a company. The company's got some like warehouse of people in the Philippines or something where they can pay, $3 a month. How are they checking that it's accurate? I mean, I assume that they must be subject matter specialists. So if Gemini says something about the law, it must be a lawyer who's using their encyclopedic knowledge of the law to say whether that's true or not.
Well,
I mean, otherwise, it's just going to be someone Googling, surely.
Yeah. Or maybe because they have landlines in the Philippines, so they could all be calling ChatGPT to ask it what it thinks of Gemini's responses if they don't know the answer themselves. You have identified a genuine problem, which is sometimes these people may not be so expert. Earlier this year, we described how Google search engine AI overviews powered by Gemini had advised using glue to make cheese stick better to pizza.
I mean, I'm sure that works.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing wrong with it in one way. Depends what
Yeah, as an adhesion problem.
If you just wanted the pizza as maybe a form of wall covering or loft insulation.
Or you wanted to sell it through Sotheby's as some sort of AI-generated art, yeah.
The only problem is if you want to eat it.
Yeah.
Or the other thing that AI Overviews was recommending on Google was that eating at least one small rock a day was good for your digestive health. And apparently it learned that from experts because it had scoured the web and it had found an article on a website called, hang on, let me just look this up. The website called, The Onion. And The Onion had said that geologists were recommending you eat a rock a day. Yeah. And so Google had decided that was a sensible piece of advice. So humans are helping Google Gemini by reviewing these responses, rating the accuracy of their outputs. And you're absolutely right. This important question is, how do the humans know if the answer is a good one or not? I mean, if you're not an expert on digestive health, but a really, really keen geologist, you might think eating rocks is great. Yeah. So you need to be an expert in a particular subject. Yeah. And the truth is, not everyone's an expert in everything, Mark. Try and remember that, Mark, right? Not everyone knows about everything, actually.
Tell me about it.
Right, so...
yeah, I'm reminded of that every week.
So you have to rely upon the contractors sometimes, seeing a response from the AI system, reviewing it and saying, I don't know, beats me, because they're not experts, right? And they can pass it on to someone else. Yeah. Now, until recently, Global Logic, this company which Google was farming out this work to, they told their contractors they could skip certain prompts. The prompts are the text-based instructions or questions given to the AI.
So just do the easy ones.
Just do the easy ones.
Yeah, like a kid doing a maths test.
And opt out of evaluating the responses created by the AI to those questions. Yeah. If the question or if the prompt was way outside their area of expertise. Seems sensible to me. For instance, I'm prepared to admit I know a fair bit about Doctor Who, but I know next to nothing about Star Trek or Star Wars. The reason for that is Doctor Who's for grown-ups, Star Trek and Star Wars are for kids. It's just childish frippery. Never the twain shall meet. They're completely different things. But even within Doctor Who, I'm much more knowledgeable about classic Doctor Who from the 1960s and 1970s than I am of that modern version.
Yeah, so the adult one that you enjoyed as a child, rather than the childish one that you've enjoyed as an adult.
I've never thought of it like that. Yeah, funny that. Anyway, so according to TechCrunch, who've been writing about this in Global Logic. If I was a contractor working on this project, historically, I would have been able to skip testing Gemini with questions about Mr. Spock or William Shatner's girdle or something like that. I could avoid those ones because I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
They don't actually give that as an example. They say a contractor could skip a prompt which asked a niche question about cardiology, whatever that ology is, or if they didn't have medical expertise.
Well, it's the study of cards, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So gamblers.
Yeah.
But I think we're talking about the same thing here. But it's all changed now, because according to TechCrunch, Global Logic has now announced a change to its contractors saying they can no longer skip testing Gemini where particular prompts are based on an area which they have no expertise in. So if you have a cardiology question and you know nothing about cardiology, or if you have a question about eating rocks and you have no concept whatsoever as to why that might be a bad idea, you cannot any longer skip being asked to evaluate that question and that response.
Oh, that seems bad.
Do you think?
I suppose it depends how you do it.
Well, the contractors are being told they have to rate the parts of the prompts that they do understand.
Right.
And indicate with a note that they didn't understand everything. So you could understand a bit of the question which started off with, what should I do?
Yeah, very confident. Yeah.
And I didn't know about the bit which said, with a pain on the left-hand side of my chest. Seemed fine to me. The AI suggested jumping up and down and shouting a lot would help with the pain in my chest. So the concern is that contractors are sometimes tasked with evaluating these really highly technical AI questions, maybe about issues about rare diseases. It could be mathematics. It could be about all sorts of things. And some of the contractors have raised internal memos. They've sort of said, I thought we were trying to increase the accuracy by passing it on to someone who might know the answer rather than guessing ourselves. But apparently that's not the way forward.
I'm actually a lot less concerned about the people who are rating the bits of the questions that they don't know.
And the ones who believe they do know the answers.
Exactly. Yeah. People with unearned confidence going, oh, yeah, absolutely. I know exactly what this is. My uncle had this. It's the same thing. Yep.
Google says not to worry about this. They've got plenty of systems in place to evaluate the quality of responses, going beyond what these humans are doing. But
sorry, going beyond what these humans are doing?
Yes. Oh.
You know that this is just being checked by an AI, don't you?
They are going to be on that landline to ChatGPT. Or they'll be asking Botto once it has a personality.
I reckon the reason all these people are now mandated to provide an answer is that they're giving the same question to multiple people. And they're looking across the span of answers and they're doing the wisdom of crowds things, and that's probably all being processed by an AI. The
problem with asking a large number of people their opinion on an important subject. There have been some elections recently. Sometimes a lot of people get the answer quite wrong.
So, Graham, I'm going to start my story with a spoiler alert.
Right.
So, if you are a listener of the AI Fix and you're prone to listening to it on a speaker with your children present, you might want to squirrel your children away or pop in your AirPods. Because we're going to be talking about Christmas and there are going to be a few spoilers.
Oh, are you going to entirely spoil Christmas for children?
I'm going to ruin Christmas for children, yes.
Cheapers.
Do you remember Christmas as a child, Graham? Do you remember the smell of mulled wine, maybe? Snow on the ground?
I wasn't given mulled wine as a child, Mark.
You might have smelled it, though. I mean, it's aroma.
Well, no, the main aroma I remember is the aroma of burning flesh, because I had chilblains and I'd stick my feet up on the radiator to try and warm them up. So I remember that. I remember, yes, snow on the ground. Yes, that was always very exciting, and lots of pine needles in the carpet.
Weirdly creepy children's TV shows?
Yeah,
that was a thing, wasn't it?
Yes, ghost stories, yeah.
Being taken by your parents to go and sit on some slightly inebriated old man's lap in the local shopping centre.
Not any old man, Mark. We were very lucky in our town because Father Christmas actually made a point of stopping by the local department store and having a chat with us.
Oh, we just had the head of the local Rotary. Speaking of Santa, maybe you left a mince pie and a glass of brandy for Santa. Perhaps a carrot for Rudolph.
Yes.
Yeah. Nothing
yes.
for the other 7 reindeer, obviously. It was the 70s. Discrimination was everywhere. So Christmas is about a lot of things to a lot of people. But mostly, I think more than anything, the real spirit of Christmas is lying. The central pillar of Christmas as a child is a massive, whopping lie that parents tell their children.
Oh my God, I really do hope people switched off.
Your parents told you, I'm sure, that Santa is a fat bloke that wears a red coat and he lives in the North Pole. He's got a team of elves who hand make the plastic toys that you can see in the Argos catalogue. And he flies around the world on a magical sleigh pulled by reindeer. He goes to every child's house and he comes down the chimney and he's got time to enjoy his mince pie and brandy, and then he leaves presents in a stocking by the fireplace. And it's a story that is, on its face, preposterous, even to a young child. And it only works because of the sheer confidence with which parents tell it, and because they're all backing each other up and reinforcing the lie. But at some point,
This is your theory, Mark. This is your theory, right? I stress this is not the official point of view of the AI Fix podcast. This is just one drunken adult who's making this claim, kids, if you're listening.
At some point, I'm sure your child brain started to see the cracks in the story and to ask questions.
Yes.
And the first and most obvious thing was that, like most kids of my age, I noticed we don't have a chimney.
Yeah, yes.
And then you start to ask bigger questions like, how does he get around the world in a day? And how does he carry all of those presents? And then there are the more advanced questions. So everybody talks about how he gets in. He comes down the chimney, but nobody talks about how he leaves. Does he climb back up the chimney? Does he leave through the front door? And if he does leave through the front door, do the reindeer come down to meet him, or does he have to climb up the outside of the house and back onto the sleigh? And before long, you realise that the whole thing is completely impossible and the myth of Santa is dispelled. But Graham, the questions remain. The wound never fully heals, Graham.
Well, I can tell you that right now. My heart is breaking hearing this.
The questions about Santa never actually go away because nobody ever answered them. But now we can answer them.
Oh,
thanks to the power of AI. So this Christmas, I sat down with ChatGPT and I asked it all about the physics of Santa.
Can I just ask a question? Were your kids sat there with you as well? Was this right, kids? Gather
well, they've
round.
got to learn, Graham. I thought this way is as good as any. So I sat down with ChatGPT and I thought I'll ask it some questions. I started with an easy one. I said, based on the average size of a large stocking, what volume of presents does Santa need to carry, and what is the mass of those presents? After a bit of back-of-the-envelope work, ChatGPT said that the presents would occupy a volume of 20 million cubic meters. That's 706.3 million cubic feet for our US listeners. And it would have a mass of 6 billion kilograms, which is 6 million metric tons, or 6.61 million US tons. Which begged another question. What would happen to a house if Santa landed on it with 6 billion tons of presents? And what would it need to be made of in order to stay up? And the result, said ChatGPT, would be utter destruction. And the house would need to be made of diamond, carbon nanotubes, or neutron star material in order for Santa to land on it without it collapsing.
I do think Mark Zuckerberg has something like that.
A house made of neutron star material. I mean, there's a lot of follow-on questions for that. Even just making a house out of neutron star material, I suspect, would have quite a serious impact on the surrounding houses. Anyway, I thought that's good to know. But what about the journey? So I said to ChatGPT, plot the most efficient course for Santa to reach all the houses in the world in a single day.
Right.
And it said Santa's route, based on an efficient time zone strategy, might look something like this. The goal is to minimise backtracking and leverage Earth's rotation starting at the international dateline and moving westwards. And then it said, very helpfully, would you like to see a visual representation of this global route?
Ooh.
And I thought, that's fantastic. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, go on. Let me see it. And Graham, I've put the picture in the show notes.
Well, it's beautiful, and it's also Christmassy.
Yeah.
With lots of sort of like snowflakes in outer space.
Yeah.
And
it's got the route plotted on it with a little Santa and some presents. I think that's all rather lovely. Admittedly, it does look like a red circle just scrawled by a child over a map. And it has put South America in Australia. Oh,
Yes.
It's also put South America in the sky.
yes, and Oceania, that's close to the North Pole, I can see
It's actually
as well.
hovering above the North Pole.
Yes.
Asia is in the middle of the Pacific.
Yeah.
And the international date line is somewhere between Africa and the US.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, yes, very helpful. Is this the map you're going to print out and give to
Well, this is the map that Santa needs to use.
You should give him this at the department store, the chap from the Rotary Club.
I can tell him to go to Ealf Asia.
Good old Ealf.
Okay, so pictures aren't ChatGPT's thing, but let's dig into the physics of that journey. So I said to ChatGPT, using the laws of physics as the only restriction, estimate how quickly Santa would have to move between houses on his journey around the world and how much time he's got in each house.
Oh, yes.
I said you'll need to account for the fact that Santa doesn't move at a smooth speed. He's got to stop, drop off presents, and then accelerate and decelerate between homes. Because remember, he's stopping, he's going down the chimney.
Yeah.
So ChatGPT gave itself these constraints. It said there's about 2 billion homes worldwide, and thanks to rotation and time zones, Santa has approximately 36 hours.
Right.
And it assumed an average of 1 kilometre between each home as a rough global average. And so it thought about it, and it produced a frankly enormous response with lots and lots of equations. But in summary, it said, time per home is around 65 microseconds. The maximum speed is about 20% the speed of light. And the acceleration is 1.9 times 10 to the 12 metres squared.
Mark, you're sounding a little bit sceptical here. What you have to recognise is that this whole Father Christmas operation, Santa Inc., is actually a franchise operation. So he's not doing all of it himself.
Yep.
He's got other people. This may surprise you. There are other people who don the uniform and are representatives of Father Christmas.
You're saying that the head of the local Rotary does more than just sit in the local shopping centre.
That's right, yes.
Well, I think anybody listening to this knows that you've just made that up because we all heard the lies as a child, and it was very clear that there is one Santa, and he flies around the world on a sleigh pulled by 8 reindeer. So anyway, 65 microseconds per home and travelling at a maximum speed of 20% the speed of light. But it turns out that that's the easy part.
Oh.
Because the next thing I said, I want to know about acceleration. The maximum speed is 20% the speed of light, but he's got to speed up and slow down between houses, which are a kilometre apart. I said, given the acceleration, what G-forces would Santa's reindeer be subjected to? And it said the reindeer would experience approximately 194 billion G-forces during this acceleration. And handily, it reminded me that humans lose consciousness at around 5 to 9 G without special equipment. And that reindeer experiencing 194 billion G-forces would disintegrate without magical intervention. Okay, I thought travelling at 20% the speed of light and accelerating at 194 billion G is going to generate quite a bit of friction. And now I'm starting to understand why Rudolph's nose is so red. So I wanted to know, how hot would Rudolph's nose get during this acceleration and how loud would the shockwave be? And after much deliberation about stagnation temperature of compressed air, ambient temperature, the heat capacity ratio of air, it concluded that the temperature T is astronomically high, approximately 4.4 times 10 to the 12 Kelvin, which is hotter than the core of the sun. Rudolph's nose would instantly vaporise. And then onto the shockwave, it said shockwave intensity, blah blah, sonic boom, overpressure, 250 decibels. 250 decibels is far louder than the threshold of human hearing. Pain begins at 130 decibels, apparently. So Santa moving through the air would obliterate the eardrums of anybody nearby and devastate the surroundings. So in other words, Graham, far from being the jolly character your parents presented him to be, with the power of AI we can reveal that Santa, rather than bringing joy to the world, is more like Godzilla walking through a Tokyo suburb. Santa is, in fact, a weapon of mass destruction. Well, as the doomsday clock ticks ever closer to midnight and we move 1 week nearer to our future as pets to the AI singularity, that just about wraps up the show for this week.
If you enjoy the show, please do leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Podchaser. We love that. But what really helps is if you make sure to follow the show in your favourite podcast app so you never miss another episode of The AI Fix.
And the most simple thing in the world is just to tell your friends about it. So tell them on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Facebook, Twitter, maybe not Twitter, Club Penguin. Just tell them you really like the AI Fix podcast.
And don't forget to check us out on our website, theaifix.show, or find us on Blue Sky.
So until next time, from me, Mark Stockley.
And me, Graham Cluley.
Goodbye.
Happy Christmas. Bye-bye.
The AI Fix, it tunes you in to stories where our
I've got a question, Mark.
machines that learn, they grow.
Yeah.
Your children,
One day they'll rule, we won't survive.
do they like you?
It paints the scene, a robot king, a world obscene. Will serve our masters built of steel. The AI Fix, a future surreal.